everyone, my name is Haley. Welcome back to my channel. I am a writer paving a creative life for myself, and today we are going to be talking about the creative well. So let's get into it. Are you mentally exhausted? Aren't stimulated by activities that used to bring you joy? Well, it might just be time to visit the creative well. Yes, I did draw this. The creative well is unlike any well that you might have visited before, because unlike other wells that are just filled with plain old non-magical water, this creative well is filled with inspiration. So how do you access this creative well? Well, first we need to talk about what happens when it's empty, what happens when it's full. The ASMR well, as we have it. So when I first made this card, it was as a part of my Colorado writing retreat. So I decided to make this card the creative well. It was inspired by tarot, and I have a whole meaning and description on the back that I will read in just a bit towards the end of the video. So make sure to stay tuned for that if you're interested in that. I'll give a little divination reading for when you pull the creative well. But we need to talk about what the creative well is, why it has a tendency to become empty, specifically with burnout, and then finally, how do we fill this creative well back up so that we can live our most wonderful, spontaneous, sustainable creative lives. I want you all to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, deep breath out. We're gonna tap our head 3 times, spin around, and we've arrived. We're at the creative well. Welcome. I know it's not a physical well. I know you guys are really disappointed, but it's in your head. Imagine it as you will. Mine is surrounded by both a sun and a moon, and trees and a telescope, and a little evil eye bucket to protect against anything evil. It's enumerating light and positive energy. So yours can be whatever you make of it. How do you know when it's empty? Feel overwhelmed instead of excited about your work in progress. You'd rather take a nap than write or worry about your project. You're easily distracted. You might go onto YouTube, TikTok, what has you, social media, and just forget about the life in your project and everything else that's going on in the world right now, and just be like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing over here. I'm not even gonna worry about it. Of course, that has a tendency to also make you more overwhelmed about your project, which was my first point. You also have a tendency to beat yourself up if you fail or just aren't able to meet your goal the way that you want to meet it. So if you have a tendency to beat yourself up like I do and just work yourself to the bone until you literally you have no more energy to give to your project or to anything else that you might be passionate about, that's exactly when you know that your creative well is empty and it is time to refill it. So how do we refill our well? So we know that the well is full of inspiration, right? We need to find ways to boost our levels of inspiration that we can then bring into our work. What I like to do to refill my well is travel to a new place, explore nature, take my dogs on a walk, play with my dogs, go on an adventure, get coffee with friends, be social for once, find a new book in a genre, either in your genre that you're writing or something completely different. I love to grab pieces that are completely out of my comfort zone in order to kind of boost my inspiration. So I might watch the news a little bit more. I might read a nonfiction book. I might read a poetry chapbook or book. I might get back into painting. I love to paint and draw, so I try to get into that a little bit more and get back into that because I don't usually have time for art, so I don't do it too often. So that'll be one of the ways that I can refill my creative well. I also take breaks from the projects that are making me really angry or frustrated, because the last thing that you want is to have a piece of literature that you're writing, whatever you write or do, that is falling flat, that is becoming lifeless because you're not inspired anymore. You're just kind of chugging along, going by the heel of your toe, taking it by its boot, pulling it along. And we don't want to do that to our art, you know, because then your first draft or your second draft or whatever phase of writing you're working on, it is not going to be the best that it can be. So you need to take it down, put it down for a second, and pick something else up, whether it's another art piece, another project, a book, whether you're exploring another genre like nonfiction or poetry. Taking on something new can be a really great way to refill your creative well, and that way, maybe when you're working on something completely different, you might have a burst of inspiration for that other project that you set down. You might just not be ready to work on that project that you're working on right now too, and that's why it's causing so much frustration. So putting it down could actually be a really great way to get back into the flow of things and to boost your confidence about your art as well. Small accomplishments can really make or break refilling the creative well as well. Because it is so imperative that I think like a lot of us feel burnout when we keep going, chugging along, and we have no real sense of an ending in sight. For example, like when I was working on A Dance of Shadows for forever, I would keep working, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, I can't keep working on this anymore. It's too hard, it's too tiresome and too cumbersome and taking way too much out of me to keep working on this project when I'm not seeing this end in sight. So finding smaller projects to work on that do have a closer end in sight will help you feel accomplished. And when you're feeling accomplished, you're feeling good about yourself, you're feeling inspired, you're feeling ready to go. And that might just help burst you into the spell of creativity that you need to finish your other project. Finally, also introduce self-care or rewards for yourself when you meet those smaller accomplishments. I think one thing that I always struggled with my creative well is not putting in rewards. And whenever I do rewards, it's about making yourself feel good about your work, and that helps you sustain your creative life for a longer period of time. I talk a lot more about the sustainability of a creative life in my last video that was a part of the authortube writing conference. So it was a panel all about the creative grind and healthy and unhealthy ways to creative grind and what we should do to create a healthy work-life balance for ourselves. So if you're interested in that, that'll be the next video up on the card kind of thing, wherever it shows up, and I will link it in the description below because that goes into way more detail about all the stuff I'm kind of touching on now. Is really noticing when your creative well is empty and knowing how to refill it is a big part of the creative grind and being able to sustain a healthy work-life balance for the duration of however long your project's going to take you, and extending it even beyond that to a full creative life in and of itself. Oh, and I forgot, art and history museums. I love going to those to refill my well. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below in the comments and I will be sure to answer you. And also let me know, have you been experiencing burnout lately? What do you do to refill your creative well? Is there any go-to things like going outside, experiencing nature, getting out of the house for a bit, hanging out with friends? What do you guys do to refill your well so you're ready and mentally prepared to come back to a work in progress? Right, it's what you wanted. Descriptions, qualities of the creative well card. The creative well appears in the middle of the mystical forest surrounded by trees, flowers, and vines. Above, the sun and moon play witness among scattered clouds. Next to the well, a telescope stands idle, waiting to observe contents as creativity arises from the well. Inside the bucket, the third eye watches who approaches and deems those worthy of inspiration before drawing itself down and expanding its reach. When it rises again, creativity spurs forth. It must be caught before it falls back into the trenches of the well. The meaning. You are at a time in your life worthy of inspiration. Use your third eye and intuition will follow, but it will take work. You must find the well yourself and take the necessary steps to be worthy of inspiration's eye. The creative well. Make sure to subscribe if you're not, hit that notification bell, like this video, and I'll see you soon with another video. Mwah! Love you. Be safe out there and keep being creative.